The other day, I found myself wondering why I don't play as much zombies as I used to. And of course, there's multiple reasons for that. For example, growing up and focusing on other areas in life, like jobs, school, university. That just means that you have less and less time at hand. And with other games, especially the live service titles like Fortnite or Marvel Rivals, all having battle passes and the whole fear of missing out gimmicks, it's hard to even enjoy games anymore since they feel like a full-time job at this point. But also, one shouldn't stick to one game forever or you will burn out. Something I've kept in mind after playing the mode for the last decade. But there's something else. I've defended modern zombies ever since Cold War and still stand by the fact that the games, mechanically, are simply better than the old ones. The story is up to preference, but there's one aspect that I feel we need to really talk about: the decline of challenges in Call of Duty Zombies. But why do I care? Look, I've been playing since Black Ops 3 released 10 years ago, and I've watched the rise and fall of in-game challenges in Call of Duty unfold in real time. From the peak of World War II character challenges, through the streamlined seasonal challenges of Cold War, to the bare minimum, too little, too late effort of Black Ops 6. It's really time to talk about it. So let's rewind a decade to Black Ops 3. The game launched with two Dark Ops challenges, secret redacted calling cards that you could unlock by completing hidden objectives. There was one for doing the main quest for the game's launch map, Shadows of Evil, and one for entering your first prestige. Two more were added with the last map, Revelations. They gave you one Dark Ops calling card for doing the final main quest on Revelations, and one for doing the super Easter egg and completing all main quests on all maps. So far so good. Life was simpler back then, and the maps were much bigger in scale and depth. Players could spend hours playing without chasing every challenge. Sure, it would have been nice to earn a calling card here and there, for example for hitting round 100 on Setsubo no Shima, or for defeating Nikolai with only a pistol, but it was fine for the time. Dark Ops challenges were just an experiment. There were only a handful of challenges compared to the multiplayer mode, and Treyarch was testing the waters. Aside from the Dark Ops, of course there were some Barracks challenges, nothing crazy, just regular in-game progression that you could do over the game's lifecycle. Some players finished them fast, others took their time, but it was a nice bit of progression nonetheless. Apart from a few animated calling cards, that was it for the rewards. Remember this bare bones approach for the games that followed. After Black Ops 3, in 2016, Infinite Warfare released. Although I never played it back then, I went back and booted up the copy that I had to take a look at the Barracks menu, and I was pleasantly surprised, to be honest. Not only did Infinity Ward include the regular Barracks challenges, they also added new ones for each DLC map. That means they literally updated the challenge menu every time there was a major content drop, and honestly, that was a huge step forward in providing players with things to do. New maps are always nice, but getting a little extra in the form of more challenges must have felt great. In addition to the regular and map-specific challenges, I also spotted a tab labeled Secret Challenges, and at first glance it reminded me of the Dark Ops challenges in the Black Ops franchise, and so I looked up what the 5 redacted challenges entailed. And sure enough, they were on the same scale as Dark Ops. You unlocked rewards similar to Black Ops 3. One for completing the final Easter egg, another one for completing the super Easter egg, for example. It was great to see another studio adopt and improve on a core idea. Not to mention that Infinite Warfare Zombies went above and beyond everyone's expectations by adding Director's Cut. A complete rerun of the existing maps where at the end you could face Mephistopheles, one of the hardest zombie bosses ever. The developers clearly showed how much they cared about their players, and it was up to Sledgehammer Games to continue this trend. But would they succeed? Let's skip to 2017. Sledgehammer Games released WWll Zombies, a mode that was widely hated on by content creators and players alike. Why? I have no idea. When I first played it, I enjoyed it very much. You could tell the developers put so much effort into it, from the gritty aesthetics to the dark storyline to the amount of in-game progression. Oh wait, what did I say? Yes, that's right, in-game progression like we've never seen before. What did they do, you might be wondering? Well, instead of simply adding hidden redacted challenges and rewarding you with calling cards, Sledgehammer Games gave you unlockable character skins. Can you imagine how crazy good that sounds compared to today, where Black Ops 6 might let you earn one mediocre looking skin for doing a main quest? Back then, Sledgehammer Games gave us at least 3 new unlockable skins per map, all hidden behind 5 individual secret challenges. Now, for comparison, Black Ops 3 gave us 4 Dark Ops challenges, with the most generic requirements ever, like doing Easter eggs, hitting prestige, whatever. Sledgehammer Games gave us 116 unique creative challenges that tested player skill, problem solving, and endurance. They only ever provided small hints about what each challenge entailed, and the players had to figure out everything themselves. For example, some of my favorites were defeating the Brenner boss on round 50 in Größtenhaus, which was a claustrophobic nightmare, or taking down a Panzermörder on the Final Reich by round 16, which required a near-perfect, efficiently planned approach. There were fun ones too, like surviving 15 consecutive rounds on a theater stage on the Shadowed Throne, or every map starting room challenge, where you had to reach round 20 without opening any doors. Good times. Again, Sledgehammer dialed up the challenges from 4 to 116, and that was insane. Their only crime was not being Treyarch, so people didn't care so much about their accomplishments. But I have to defend the studio for it, and I always will if I get the chance. So, although they didn't have Dark Ops challenges, because that was like a Black Ops trademark thing to do, right? They came up with something better. Instead of calling cards, you got operator skins. An insane reward. From completing the super Easter egg and finishing all quests in the game, you could unlock various weapons as your starting loadout, weapon charms, and a zombie operator skin. Which looked absolutely insane, by the way. But they didn't stop there. At various points during the game's lifecycle, Sledgehammer gave us free event camos, St. Patrick's Day themed ones or Days of Summer event camos that you could easily unlock by playing. 1 or 2 years after the game's lifecycle ended, they even made it possible to get certain limited time skins and rewards for those who missed out. Something that still baffles me to this day that a studio would care that much for their players. But then again, this was all before modern Call of Duty, before bundle skins and the infinite money print consumer decisions were on the horizon. First though, let's see what happened in 2018 with Black Ops 4. Did Treyarch take notes from Sledgehammer Games? Would they have better challenges and rewards waiting for us after all the content that Sledgehammer gave us? The answer is no, at least not in Zombies. Let me explain. While Black Ops 4 was one of the most hyped games ever and players all around the world couldn't wait to pick up where they left off after Black Ops 3, the game itself had some tough design decisions, from having no campaign to focusing most of the effort on Blackout to giving Zombies a new crew and universe alongside their old Ether one. It was very ambitious. Maybe so ambitious that they neglected aspects like challenges this time around. Although the maps were tremendous and larger than ever in terms of content and side quests, the challenges were underwhelming. To be fair, there were more Dark Ops challenges this time around. Black Ops 3 had 4 and Black Ops 4 had 12. And there was also a Master Dark Ops challenge for completing all of them, so in a way they did think about giving us an extra reward. However, since most Dark Ops could be done at launch, there was little incentive to boot up the game with each new map release. Besides, of course, having fun and checking out the new map. I'm not saying you only have to play Zombies to unlock challenges, but in terms of in-game side objectives that you can pursue, there was nothing new. There was one redacted Dark Ops challenge that I believe had to do with factions, a concept that was teased before the game dropped and never got really implemented into the game. It was scrapped halfway through it. But Anyways, this Dark Ops challenge was later turned into complete half of the Dark Ops challenges, which was the laziest excuse ever. Instead of inventing something fresh, like shooting 50 vampires on Dead of the Night with the crossbow, they picked something easy to implement. Part of me understands, because they had tons of bugs going on and they had to focus on the game during its life cycle, and then they had to work on other games during the life cycle too, so it was a mess. But it still showed a lack of care for the players who did want to complete Dark Ops challenges. Another challenge was tied to the gauntlet modes, which were also added later on. They could have given us a new Dark Ops challenge with each new gauntlet, hell, with even each new map. A really missed opportunity, in my opinion. The challenges that they did include were somewhat decent. Beating the main quest alone was no longer enough. You had to either speedrun a map or complete it without perks or downs, which naturally raised the difficulty. The most creative one was Dodgy Devil, which required you to reach round 20 without getting hit. The predecessor to what became the social distancing challenge in Cold War and Black Ops 6. Apart from the Dark Ops challenges, of course, the game had barracks challenges that you could grind and work towards to at any point. They were in the menu and yeah, they rewarded you with some animated calling cards as well. But it was really nothing special and nothing that we haven't seen before. So, the Dark Ops in Black Ops 4 were only slightly better than BO3's bare bones approach. There wasn't much going on during the game's lifecycle for hardcore players to log in and to grind. Sure, you could argue it was worth checking out the gauntlets, but let's be real, I can only speak for myself, but I still have PTSD from doing them. They weren't fun, they were straight up unfair and impossible to complete unless you knew exactly what to expect each round. So you either looked up a guide or forced your way through it by trial and error. And for what exactly? At the end, you got a calling card and a sticker. A sticker you could use as your emblem. And if that wasn't like the absolute rock bottom for pre-battle pass rewards in Zombies, I don't know what it was. Point is, the rewards and challenges in Black Ops 4 were garbage. But that's only half of the story, because we also need to talk about Blackout. Call of Duty's first Battle Royale experience, which was updated alongside Zombies in 2019. That mode had a nice progression system for character unlocks. You would find a certain item somewhere on a big map, complete a mission with it, and if you succeeded, you would unlock a skin to wear in the mode. Simple as that. Some missions were harder than others, of course, but the idea was great, a way to unlock stuff similar to Sledgehammer Games' character unlocks in 2017. Imagine if they had implemented that system in Zombies. For example, on Voyage of Despair, you would find a rare item, maybe through a side Easter egg. Then you could do a challenge, say, reach round 100 on Voyage of Despair, and unlock a new skin for Scarlet Roads. Simple and interactive. Maybe the reward item was character specific and drops were random, so you would have to keep playing until you got the item you needed before facing the challenge. It might have been frustrating, yes, but in terms of playtime, grinding, and a fitting reward, it would have been great. They already had the blueprint in Blackout and chose to do nothing with it. But the realist in me knows about the crunch developers faced. I know it wasn't a priority. I'm just wondering what could have been. In terms of what actually happened, challenges in Zombies took a deep dive with Black Ops 4 in 2019. It's time for Cold War Zombies. At this point, Warzone was already the new flagship mode for Call of Duty, and the Modern Warfare 2019 reboot had kicked off the modern Call of Duty machinery. Treyarch, however, was tasked with filling Sledgehammer's spot in 2020, with less development time. On paper, an impossible task. So how did they do it? Surely there were fewer resources and less time to build a full game with a fresh Zombies mode, while also respecting hardcore players' interest, right? Who cares about Dark Ops when you've got a worldwide lockdown and everyone's working from home to make video games? Well, to our surprise, they actually delivered. Not only did they launch with 13 Dark Ops challenges, they also added new ones with each new map release or Outbreak main quest. Now, to be fair, and to get the criticism out of the way first, 2 of the 13 launch Dark Ops were for Dead Ops Arcade, the top-down mode where you defeat the silverback gorilla at the end. So you could argue they shouldn't have counted towards zombies. And the Dark Ops that they added later on simply required completing the main quests. Lazy and uncreative perhaps, yes, but at least they fought to add more content over the game's lifecycle. On that front, and given the circumstances, I think they gave us enough. But that wasn't all. For the first time ever, they expanded the barracks challenges with each new content drop, not just maps but Outbreak too. With every major release, they added 6 new challenges and calling cards, plus a mastery calling card for completing all of them. It wasn't huge, but it showed that they cared. Sure, hardcore players could finish them quickly, but the thought counts. However, they didn't stop there. In 2021, as Warzone's success exploded the player base, more and more people logged in to play this free-to-play Battle Royale experience. And who could blame them? It was lockdown after all, and we all had extra time on our hands. By now, we were fully in a modern COD era, complete with battle passes and a new leveling system. Each season, ranks reset, and players had to grind back to level 200 to unlock seasonal challenges and rewards. What were those? Well, with each season came 20 sets of 5 challenges, unlocked at level 50, 100, 150 and level 200. It was a perfect progression system. Fear of missing out, driven, yes, but it kept players engaged. Not only were there 20 zombie challenges per season, but also 20 multiplayer challenges. Endless reasons to play, rank up and to have fun. But what if I told you that they added even more? They introduced 100% calling cards for each mode, campaign, multiplayer and zombies, the ultimate flex that you had done everything the game offers in a barracks. And they also added Battle Pass skin variants you could unlock in multiplayer, Warzone or zombies if the base Battle Pass skin wasn't good enough for you. Can you imagine how much content there was? Improved barracks challenges, more Dark Ops challenges than ever before, plus additional seasonal challenges. Overall, there were 120 seasonal zombie-specific challenges, over 80 barracks challenges, and 20 Dark Ops, well over 200 challenges in total. In terms of content, it was absolute peak for grinding stuff. I feel like we are not giving this early modern era of COD enough credit. It worked so flawlessly. Swapping to multiplayer or Warzone was seamless. If you wanted to use a skin you had earned in a battle pass, just grind the mode you preferred. The same went for DLC weapons. Every new weapon could be bought immediately in the store, yes, or you could unlock it via a fun challenge in Warzone, multiplayer or zombies. People even booted up zombies to knock out easy weapon challenges so they could use the weapon in Warzone. It all worked together perfectly. There were big collabs like the 80s Action Heroes event, and you could also access that content in any mode. But the important thing is, every item had a specific challenge tied to real gameplay. The game didn't just ask you to grind X amount of XP across modes. If you wanted to unlock an item in zombies, you had to reach round 15 and exfil 3 times, or kill 5 special zombie types, for example. It was tailored to player preferences, something recent iterations simply forgot to do. But we are not quite there yet. For now, I want to summarize. Cold War Zombies as a whole was an enormous step forward in providing players with challenges and content. And while the rewards were rarely better than calling cards and emblems, at least we got Battle Pass skin variants and mastery calling cards for our efforts. It was perfectly fine for the time. But things change, and with the number of buyable skins and weapons in the store, surely Call of Duty would refine this formula in the following iterations, right? Right? We had to talk about Vanguard at some point. Where do I even start? We all know how the game was received back then. They gave us the most bare-bones objective-based experience ever. It truly felt lazy and out of place. Coming from the heights of Cold War, which had decent round-based maps, and the superior open-world Outbreak experience, to this was devastating. But then again, a smaller team and less time to make this kind of mode. Honestly, they missed what players loved about Outbreak. These small map sections with endless teleportations felt repetitive, since there wasn't even a main quest to do, or literally anything else. You can imagine how little effort went into the challenges this time. Since it was technically not a Treyarch game, they didn't have Dark Ops, which, yes, makes sense. They did, however, include the normal barracks challenges, a few sets of tabs that you could work towards to anytime you wanted to. Most of them were alright, I guess, except one. There was truly one challenge I didn't do. Me, someone who always grinds that kind of stuff. And that one was exfil 250 times. Hell no, I couldn't even manage 100 exfils, though I played the game a lot back then when the maps released. It really shows how out of scope this challenge was. The only good thing about Vanguard was that there were seasonal challenges again for each of the 5 seasons, similar to Cold War. So 100 challenges in total to grind through during the game's lifecycle. It was better than nothing, but you could feel the drop in quality compared to Cold War's challenges. Surely it had to do with the lack of content and maps, which made the challenges more generic and tedious to grind. Nonetheless, they were there. And remember how WWll Zombies, the other game developed by Sledgehammer Games, was the absolute peak for in-game grindable challenges? Back then, I was really looking forward to Vanguard just because of that. I thought that if any studio would step up and look after player needs, it would have been them. But since Treyarch took over the mode for this game, most likely an Activision decision, we all suffered. Treyarch because they had to wrap up Cold War and work on Vanguard, Sledgehammer because their most creative developers from 2017's WWll Zombies probably had to work on other stuff instead of continuing their dark gritty mode, and the players, who got a half-baked, low-effort filler mode. Also, Activision could sell more copies of the game. I can't help but wonder what could have been if we had gotten an actual continuation of WWll Zombies back then. While the exposition of the early days of the Dark Ether story was cool and all, I think it would have been more beneficial to let each studio pursue its own vision of a third mode, be it Zombies, Spec Ops, or the one where I had to fight aliens. Extinction, I believe it was called. Oh well, I never played that one, but you get the idea. Let them be creative on their own without the Treyarch branding and marketing fooling players into buying a low-effort game. A mistake they clearly felt when the player numbers dropped and feedback turned negative. Surely they wouldn't repeat it twice. Well, about that, in 2023 they released Modern Warfare Zombies, the biggest open world style zombies experience to date. It was again developed by a Treyarch team and continued the Dark Ether storyline, although it was a Sledgehammer Games game. You can't make this up. After the failure that was Vanguard, you would think they would let Treyarch work on their own game this time. But no, they had to fill in and create the zombies experience for this title too. The good news is it was actually quite decent. The more Outbreak-inspired formula worked, showing just how much gold they struck with the original Outbreak. The mode was fun and let newer players try zombies, like Warzone players. Sure, some booted up Modern Warfare Zombies just to grind weapon levels, but that was nothing new at this point. The truth is, the mode was fun. A large battle royale map for up to 30 players, I believe. You could team up or go solo and there was real content. From missions tied to in-game challenges, to barracks challenges, to schematic items that you could earn as rewards. The game launched with 3 acts, each with its own side challenge set, and later updates added more acts and areas to explore. Regarding the barracks challenges, they were tied to your prestige rank, and there were 25 prestige ranks total. Each season you could earn another 200 levels, translating to 4 prestige ranks, so they dropped new challenges with every season. That gave you an incentive to play throughout the title's lifecycle if you wanted to grind everything. You could argue it mirrored the 20 seasonal challenges from Cold War and Vanguard. New ones unlocked each season. But whereas uncompleted challenges in those games got locked at the start of a season, Modern Warfare's approach was more forgiving. Once you hit a prestige, you could still work on those challenges. Of course, you could also earn animated calling cards, and the same system applied in multiplayer. And let us also not forget the super cool zombie operator skin that you got as a reward for completing the first 3 acts in Modern Warfare Zombies. This was really one of the best rewards they ever introduced. But all in all, it was a solid way to provide in-game progression and keep players grinding. At the same time, they rewarded you at the end of a successful mission with a chance to unlock schematics, blueprints for craftable items you could use in future missions. It was a great way to reward effort. Sure, drop rates were random, meaning plenty of grinding was involved, and the cooldown system for crafted items was unforgiving, which could get tedious fast, but they didn't want you to be done after one day. The beauty was logging in, gathering loot, and tackling rifts again and again. You saw this too with the weekly challenges in Modern Warfare 3. Split by mode, multiplayer, Warzone and Zombies, and always giving something decent like a aftermarket weapon part or camo. You got free camo simply for playing the game. We haven't seen that in a while, have we? In Black Ops 6 there was exactly one free event camo. During Modern Warfare's lifecycle there were at least a dozen. One camo unlocked for surviving in an unstable rift, a really tough challenge that was best be done in a team of 6, rewarded an animated demonic red camo. It was fantastic. It was a great way to incorporate a meaningful reward. And this really shows how rewards have dropped off in recent years. Would this kind of effort also be in Black Ops 6, the game with the fully developed Zombies experience? Surely they would have zombie-specific rewards waiting for us. Surely this time Treyarch would put in all their effort to reward our grind. After all, they had plenty of development time and promised the return of round-based maps. The hype was there, and we all couldn't wait to see what they had learned over the years to build a proper in-game progression system with fitting rewards. It's time for Black Ops 6 Zombies. 4 years after the release of Cold War Zombies, Treyarch was ready to continue their Black Ops franchise. They released Black Ops 6 and promised us a return to round-based zombies and the next chapter of the Dark Ether story. The game launched with 2 maps and the challenges you would expect, as well as the return of Dark Ops. But not everything was as promising as it looked. Although they brought the challenges back, it seemed like they hadn't learned anything over the last few years. Let me explain. First, let's talk about the Dark Ops challenges. The game launched with 18 or 19 of them. One for unlocking the Mastery camo was added slightly later, I believe. But anyways, 18 Dark Ops to grind towards, plus a Mastery calling card for getting them all, was a good incentive to play the game. And so I did, along with everyone else. Some were fun and creative, others were tedious ones we had seen before, like getting a million kills. By the way, that one I'm still missing, because I'm not a high round guy and I can't be bothered. Another one was the social distancing challenge, get to round 20 without getting hit. For main quest challenges, there was a speedrun Dark Ops and a high round one, like defeating Patient 13 after round 50 on Terminus. That was great. Dark Ops are supposed to be difficult. However, since there's always a way to exploit things, players found easy methods to complete them. For example, instead of personally surviving to round 20 without getting hit, you would just join a friend on round 19 and play one more round to check it off. For the Liberty Falls speedrun Dark Ops, you could quit and reload before the boss fight, resetting the timer. An obvious oversight by Treyarch with the introduction of this new save and quit method. I think since then they patched those exploits, but it still shows how little value some of those calling cards hold nowadays. By the way, I'm not here to hate on anyone who used exploits to do that. I stopped caring about that a long time ago. If you want to do it the easy way, go ahead. That's on Treyarch for not foreseeing it. But I'm not quite done with the Dark Ops yet. In the last game, Cold War Zombies, they added new Dark Ops challenges with each content drop. But this time, with Citadel des Morts, there was no new challenge. The same thing happened with the Tomb and Shattered Veil. Nothing new. Players thought Treyarch had given up. Then, a couple of weeks after the latest map, they finally dropped 4 new Dark Ops. One per DLC map or mode, in this case Grief mode. And of course everybody jumped on them to complete them, because we had nothing post-launch to grind towards too. But my hot take is, It was too little and too late. Why wait months to add one map-specific challenge? At least I can credit them for the creativity involved in some of those challenges, but the problem is that you could still easily cheese them by playing the directed mode to unlock the Dark Ops, defeating the purpose of a high difficulty tier challenge in the first place. Why even allow directed mode? If I can beat Citadel de Mora's boss fight with only the sword on directed mode, why should I bother to boot up the regular mode? Maybe I'm just getting too old or too critical, but looking at the last decade of COD Zombies, I can't help but feel like it's going downhill. Yes, the games are mechanically easier, which is fine because World at War or Black Ops 1 and 2 would feel outdated, in my opinion, but there's still room for hard challenges requiring skills and endurance. And allowing exploits and directed mode just ruins that. They should either abandon Dark Ops or improve them. Next, I want to talk about the regular barracks challenges in Black Ops 6, the standard in any mode. This time they even included a 100% calling card at launch, which was good, but some challenges were bugged. And imagine waiting months for Treyarch to fix them while you were stuck at 99% completion. Look, I didn't race to be world first to unlock 100% of calling cards in Black Ops 6, but for those who did, that must have sucked. Staring at the calling card, knowing you couldn't finish it because Treyarch didn't prioritize it. Meanwhile, new store bundles released every week, and it showed how little they cared. Thank God they eventually fixed it, so every challenge is now unlockable, but again, too little and too late. And honestly, I'm also not a fan of the traditional prestige system and its ties to the challenges. It encourages racing to prestige master first to access all of the challenges. This concept worked great in Modern Warfare Zombies, where each season unlocked a new set of prestige challenges, but locking all 10 sets behind prestige meant you could finish them by December if you really tried to. I did, and many others did too, and after that, there was nothing left to grind. There are no seasonal challenges anymore, and I'm already prestige master with my prestige challenges done. I literally beat the game. All I can do is wait for the new maps to drop and grind the 4 new Dark Ops if I want to do something. I mentioned it earlier, but they didn't add new barracks challenges for the new maps too. Lazy, given that they added them for Firebase C, Mauer and Forsaken in Cold War. In a blog post from January, they even said a new set of challenges was planned for Citadel de Mora. So they scrapped it, not a priority I guess, not worth the effort. That was truly the last straw for me. I saw how little Activision and Treyarch cared about the player base, and maybe Call of Duty is dying after all. Everyone moved from multiplayer to Warzone, and now Warzone is in the worst state ever. Zombies seems to only be there to incentivize buying the newest game, and once the launch is over, they drop all of their effort and pump out mediocre content and store bundles. But maybe that's a bit harsh to say. Shattered Veil was a good map after all, but one decent experience doesn't make up for the rest. And don't get me started on Grief mode. I still haven't tried it and I probably never will. But what did we get with Black Ops 6? Anything good? Decent rewards for our grind and main quest completions? The answer is no, not really. Yes, for the first time in a Treyarch game, they rewarded us with operator skins for completing quests. But it was too little and too late, again. You could unlock one skin variant for one character from some main quest, plus some wonder weapon skin variants. By the way, why is that even a thing? The skins were the most mediocre reward ever compared to the store super detailed shiny Mastercraft weapon blueprints and insane ultra rare skins. Meanwhile, we got the boring default Weaver variant as a reward. Maybe along with some gums to push us back to the store to buy even more. It's a joke. We got 3 operator skins in World War II Zombies in 2017, 8 years ago, but the modern COD machine doesn't respect player time or grind anymore. That's the realization I had the other day, and why I don't feel like grinding anymore this game. As someone who likes constant goals in a game, I'm just getting bored if there's nothing new, and even event challenges are uninspiring and reward items you would never use. Take all of the Black Ops 6 events. How often were there events for grinding X amount of XP to unlock stuff? Or collecting wheat or coins or whatever they had? It's boring. It's so lazy and uninspiring. In the early modern era, with Cold War and Warzone, we had actual challenges that made us log in to grind specific objectives. XP farming wasn't enough, it meant something, and now it's the same every week. Here's an event, here are the filler stickers, weapon charms, and emblems, and at the end, here's an uninspired weapon skin. Want a decent variant? Buy the Black Side Pass. So, as you can see, that was a long overdue rant. I truly feel like challenges aren't what they used to be. From the heights of World War II and Cold War Zombies to the disappointment of Black Ops 6, it's been a decade of ups and downs, and right now we are at the bottom again, and I can only hope the next games will return to a better progression system. But looking at what we have right now, my expectations are kinda low. But what do you think? What's your take on this? Comment down below why you think Treyarch fell off so hard. And if you watched all the way through this video, I would appreciate a like and follow if you don't mind. It keeps me motivated to make more videos like this. And again, thank you so much for watching, and I see you next time. Take care.